Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Live Pre-Race. Joe San Diego here, along with Adam Lemeries and Joshua Burke. Got a lot to talk about, especially in Formula One. Of course, the big news just came out about a little less than 30 minutes ago. Max Verstappen receiving a €50,000 fine for breaking protocol of Park Ferme. One of the big things that they mentioned: no evidence showing that he did anything to damage or alter the Mercedes. So we're still awaiting the update from the FIA stewards about Lewis Hamilton and, of course, if any penalty for that rear wing infringement. And one of the big things, of course, this is a sprint race weekend. We got a sprint race today. I know, Joshua, you're going to be calling that race. Adam, you're going to be watching that closely. And, of course, the starting grid will be determined. And Max Verstappen, he's going to be there in the front row. So will Lewis Hamilton. Not for the Grand Prix, because we know what's going to happen. The sprint race could alter that. And, of course, Lewis has that penalty coming. Silverstone, first lap contact. Monza, the two of them, contact. Both of them out of the race. And now we're in Brazil. Both drivers have won there. Starting with you, Adam. Will Verstappen and Hamilton race each other just as hard as they would the Grand Prix in today's race?
Oh, absolutely. This championship is as tight as we've ever seen it in Formula One for a long, long time. And since we're here in Brazil, we got to think back to 1990. Alain Prost versus Ayrton Senna. And we all know what happened at the Grand Prix of Japan in Suzuka. This F1 championship has been one of the greatest in history. And Lewis and Max will race each other hard going into the legendary Senna S. So could we see fireworks going into that historical corner? Absolutely.
Yeah, we've just got it come through as well. My phone's been pipping as well. And don't know if you want to take it, Joe, or if you want me to do it. But we've got the news about Lewis Hamilton, and it's exactly what we were expecting. Just literally one tweet has just been sent to me as well. So we're waiting for the official documents, but decision: Hamilton disqualified from qualifying. That means at worst back of the grid as all pit lane start. But that is it. It's taken, what was it, over 18 or 19 hours to get to that? But that's it. News breaking live on air.
Live on the air, and as you mentioned, Chris Medlinks also has just reported that as well too. Hamilton's qualified from qualifying. So I know this means essentially he's still going to start front of today's sprint race, but is in the Grand Prix race weekend. He is now going to be starting in the back last place. Joshua, I got to ask you now, knowing that he's going to be starting in the back, whether it's the back row or pit lane, is he going to race Max Verstappen a little harder, knowing that he doesn't have to worry about compromising his starting position? It's already been done. Max Verstappen, if he doesn't give, he could end up in the back row with a crash car. Do you think this is going to make today's race just that bit more challenging for Max Verstappen?
No, for the reason that I've just found out as well, that it's not disqualified and starting from the back for the main race. It's starting from the back for the sprint race. So that is literally just been confirmed to me as well by the FIA emails. Lewis Hamilton has been disqualified from the results of qualifying. He will start this sprint races from the back of the grid. So like you, I thought that this disqualifying from qualifying would put him to the back of the main grid. But no. So that would put Max Verstappen pole position for the sprint race, Bottas alongside him as well. Hamilton now has to start from the back of the grid for the sprint and from the back of the wherever he makes up for the race tomorrow. So that's good news, actually. And to answer your point, yes, Max Verstappen can have a little bit of an easier time of it today in the sprint race. He can take the victory, get those 3 points. But for Lewis Hamilton now, he's got 24 laps where he has got to get as far up as throughout the field as possible. because after that, remember, he's got to take his 5-place grid penalty. So he's got a penalty in this one to start from the back. Now he has to go and get up. Say he gets into 5th place, he'll start 11th on the grid, all sorts of that. So this is going to be a big afternoon. And I've just got the document through now, actually. So I'm going to quickly scan through that so we've got some information. But as it stands, it is Lewis Hamilton starting at the back of the grid for the sprint race. Plus, then, for the main race on Sunday, whatever his finishing position is for the sprint, add 5 places on for the race on Sunday. So I've got the document. I'll skip through that in just a quick second now because it's a long one. So I'll throw it back to you.
Sounds like it's a long one. Now, Adam, I have to ask you, knowing that Lewis Hamilton is starting last in the sprint race, Max Verstappen is towards the front today. The weather today, it is 69 degrees Fahrenheit right there in Sao Paulo, partially sunny, some clouds, 21 degrees Celsius for our fans internationally. When it comes to Lewis Hamilton and the team, we know the teams are pushing it to get every single inch out of that car. Could this be the championship mistake? Because now all of a sudden, Lewis Hamilton might miss out on 3 points, and then whatever points it's going to score.
Oh, yeah. Lewis Hamilton, this could be the championship game breaker to end it off for Sir Lewis Hamilton. It's going to be hard for him to come. I believe it'll be hard for him to come through the grid at São Paulo because everybody will be going for it. It's going to cause. This could be one of the craziest sprint races we've ever seen. This will be the third one we've had this year. So Lewis Hamilton needs to get as many places as he can, even though he has a 5-grid penalty coming to him after all this. But Lewis Hamilton's going to have to push all his chips in the pot and just go all out as hard as he can because, we know it's coming and it could be this could be championship game over for Sir Lewis.
Okay, I've got the document in front of me now, not just the summary that was sent to me. I've got the actual document. So sit down, get comfortable, and I'll begin. Here we go. The session was qualifying. The fact could not fulfill the maximum requirement of 85mm measurement in the adjustable positions of the uppermost rear wing elements. So the rear wing gap where the DRS is opened, the slot between where the maximum DRS open can be opened and the very bottom of that slot must be must be 85mm or less. Otherwise, it'll be an illegal car. The decision, car 44 is disqualified from the results of qualifying according to Article 12.4.1 M of the International Sporting Code. And here's the reason. Step back because it's a big one. Reason, the technical delegate reported that car 44 failed the test designed to check the requirements of the last paragraph of Article 3.6.3 of the technical regulations. The check is described in the directive. In lay terms, there is a gap between the upper and lower parts of the rear wing. When the DRS is not activated, this gap must be between 10mm and 15mm. The car passed this part of the test. So when it's closed, that rear wing is legal. Are you ready? When DRS is activated, which raises the upper element of the wing to a flatter position, the gap must be between 10mm and 85mm. The maximum gap is measured in accordance with TD 0119, which is literally just pushing an 85mm, about the equivalent of my microphone windshield on this one. Look, so pushing that through the gap of the rear wing, and if it goes through, it's fine. If it doesn't, it's illegal. All things like that as well. So by pushing the 85mm gauge against the gap with maximum load of 10, so that's 10 to the power of the Newton. So if you push that, if you use my phone, if you push that and push it 10 to make it go through so it's okay. Further on as well, if the gauge goes through, then the car has failed the test. In this case, the gauge would not pass through on the inner sections of the wing, but did on the outer section of the wing. So on the inner section, just below the main DRS, it didn't go through. On the actual DRS flap open, it did go through. This test was repeated 4 times with 2 different gauges as well, but once being done in the presence of the stewards and the representative of the constructor, that is Mercedes. The stewards held a hearing on Friday following qualifying with Ron Meadows, that is that's the sort of big lawyer for Mercedes as well, and Simon Cole, the chief engineer. Now, the trackside and from trackside as well, chief engineer trackside for Simon Cole, and the FIA technical Joe Bauer. The technical delegate and Nicholas Tombasi as well, and that is the FIA sort of counter judge alongside Joe Bauer. You see him in the garage as well as a lot of times. Further down, he's the single-seater technical director responsible for the halo development and all that sort of thing. The stewards then adjourned the hearing to gather more evidence, and at 10:30 a.m. on Saturday morning, held a further hearing that also included John Owen, the chief designer for Mercedes as well, who testified by video conference but did not include Joe Bauer. So Joe Bauer was not involved in the 10:30 a.m. meeting. Obviously, his side of that done. He's the policeman of the paddock, so he's reported to the stewards. He's got no active role in saying this car needs a penalty, that car needs a penalty. Joe Bauer's the policeman. He's got no power to actually sentence down the law. A bit like you can arrest you, but he can't send you to jail. The competitor asserted that this decision is intended to meet the regulations. It was clear to the stewards that the additional deflection was due to an additional play, either in the DRS actuator or the pivot to the end. And the actuator is when the DRS sends the mechanical signal from the driver's steering wheel through the electrical pulse of the car to open up the rear wing. So it slightly failed when it was opened. So that's the problem there. Further down as well, or some combination or other fault with the mechanism or incorrectly assembly of the parts. Remember, the format here this weekend has changed slightly because it's a sprint weekend and the freights were stuck over in Miami, which means all these cars only got built on Friday morning. So it could be as simple as a mechanical error. There's a lot more, but I'm going to try and skim through it. The stewards heard from both the team and the FIA that the same design has been tested many times during the season and uniformly passed. Further, the FIA has examined the design of the car in question and is satisfied that the design meets the rule of the regulation. So the overall design of the rear wing is fine. It's just that there's been a small mechanical error here. There is no question in the minds of the stewards that the test failure indicates any intent to exceed the maximum dimension either by action or design. So they've ruled them out that they're not cheating. This is not a cheat thing from Mercedes at all. The competitor also noted that Article 3.6.3, the regulation, states a maximum dimension, which is possible to measure without applying a force or load. It is not under a force or load that the test was taken. So when they did the test, the car wasn't under load. So the DRS failed when it was stationary, the test, but if it was running, it might have passed. So they tried to argue that when the car's under load, the rear wing is actually legal. A bit like, actually, think about it when Williams, or was it Brabham, ran the car coolant, where the water flowed through the side of the car so it would give a lower downforce, and the cool down lap it raised back up so the maximum ride height would be legal. That's what they tried to argue there. They've really gone through the history. As well, the technical delegate states that the test is designed to make sure that the rear wing element does not deflect to a larger opening than the permitted value. Interesting. Mercedes also alleged that the fact that the car passed the test in the center section of the wing is both a mitigating fact and shows that there was no intent to breach the regulations. The stewards have accepted the latter point to be true, once again clearing them that they're not cheating. The competitor noted that this is not a systematic breach and is indeed unique as well. Mercedes also further noticed that they would have liked to have the opportunity to inspect the parts with a view to having some explanation for the stewards. Because the stewards locked down the rear wing last night, Mercedes couldn't analyze it, so they had to come up with loads of other things to explain themselves about it. Going forward as well, The stewards fundamentally accept the competitive explanation, and the cause of the failed test was something gone wrong rather than a deliberate action. So this is not Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes cheating. This is a genuine accident on the rear wing. The final point was the fact that the car was tampered with in Parc Fermé, so they did go over. Because at the end of the first round on Friday, amateur video emerged of Max Verstappen touching the car of car 44 in Parc Fermé. The stewards took the time to gather all available video footage of the incident as well, but they had did a separate hearing for this as well. But car 44 and Mercedes also agreed that it was unlikely Verstappen's actions caused the fault. However, they felt it was an open question. So that is it. They leave it with the stewards, however, were fully satisfied, having extensively reviewed the totality of the evidence regarding the information, and is no longer bearing on the case. Car 44 is disqualified from the first practice session, and the qualifying session will start the back of the sprint race, but is free to have a position in the race. There you go. That's the full thing gone through, as everything is going on now, and it does indeed put Max Verstappen on pole for the sprint. There you go. Nice little technical roundup for you.
So definitely a lot going on. We want to definitely encourage everyone, be sure to share your opinions. I know we've already have some questions. We got a question here. How long is the sprint race? The sprint race is going to be 24 laps today. So 24 laps will be interesting. If Lewis Hamilton could pass one car per lap, he could get there, but it's going to be really hard, especially once he starts getting towards the Mercedes, the Ferraris level. Another question comes from Joshua Plates, and I'll start with Adam first. Do you think Verstappen and Hamilton penalties are fair? Of course, Verstappen, €50,000 fine, Hamilton DQ. Adam, do you believe those penalties were fair?
Yeah, I think they're fair. And, for those of you who don't know, Josh Plays is, Josh Plays runs a Discord channel for Josh on his F1 watch along. So he goes through, he has messages through race control. So yeah, I think these penalties are fair. So we'll see what happens in the sprint race later on today. It's gonna, I don't know, it's called this maybe championship game over for Lewis Hamilton.
Absolutely, I think it looks like that. I've never seen this is equivalent of. This is actually quite like when England versus Italy in the Euro finals as well. We've gone to sudden death in this amazing title fight, and now Lewis Hamilton has hit the ball and he's skied it as well. He's absolutely thrown it out. What a mistake by Mercedes. They've been under pressure so much this year as well. Red Bull have had the fastest car since preseason testing. We've all known it. And it was a miracle that they could get it this close. There's a gap now, 19 points between them. Verstappen's going to win the sprint today unless Bottas does his wingman duty and goes down with the ship down at turn number 1, which could happen. But no, Verstappen's going to win it. So that gap will increase to 22. And I've got a feeling that unless Lewis can win the next 2 races, it's pretty much game over. So congratulations to Max Verstappen. He's won the title due to Mercedes literally shooting themselves in the foot and then going around and shooting themselves in the leg, the arm, and the only thing left is the head as well. It's ridiculous.
It seems like what Red Bull has done all season long was just put enough pressure where Mercedes have not been perfect each and every race. And even when Baku, Hungarian ring, when Verstappen was in a position to lose maximum points, that Mercedes team did not come away with a win. The magic button, the going now on the grid and being the only car on the grid, and then Alonso holding them up, they just can't seem to be getting that perfect performance that they needed to beat Red Bull this year, because it just seems Red Bull has had their number. And here's the starting lineup for the sprint race. Of course, everybody moves up one position. Lewis Hamilton moves to the back. And we encourage everyone, share your questions and opinions on the news today about Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton as we discuss more Formula One. And we got to say, all the talk, of course, has been about the top 2 in the points. Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, the controversy there. And if you're just joining us, of course, Max Verstappen, €50,000 fine. Lewis Hamilton starting towards the back for the sprint race today. Definitely going to compromise this race. and his championship because 19 points entering. If Max Verstappen gets that win and Lewis no points, you're getting really close to the 25-point mark. 25 points per win, 1 point makes 26 for the fastest lap. If Max Verstappen leaves this weekend with more than 26-point lead, it is going to be really hard. Even if Lewis Hamilton starts winning every race, Max Verstappen is second place and gets the fastest lap, he could almost cruise control. But of course, we're going to be following this. Clean on Grid Life Rapper will have a clearer picture for the points. Speaking about the points, we got to mention Lewis Hamilton. He's going to be climbing up the field. One of the big battles we're seeing, McLaren. Ferrari is now ahead of McLaren in the constructor points. You know Mercedes are counting on Bottas, especially for their constructor championship. They're only 1 point ahead of Red Bull, and Red Bull has two of their vehicles in the top four. Lewis is going to be way in the back. When Lewis Hamilton gets to Ferrari and the McLaren teams, and we know those two are racing each other hard, how critical is it going to be for Lewis Hamilton to try to get around, force his way around essentially, especially today, and avoid any trouble because his championship is on the line. The Constructor Championship is on the line. Joshua, starting with you, when it comes to Ferrari, McLaren, and now you're going to throw in Lewis Hamilton, could this be where we see the most fireworks?
I think this is going to be one of the best sprint races I think we're ever going to see. Finally, the weekend format is going to work. It's going to enable Lewis Hamilton to capitalize on a mistake that has been made in a qualifying session that normally would have wrecked the race. I think the sprint race is going to give him just a little bit of a leg up. But you're right. When it comes to the battles with the McLarens and the Ferraris, Lewis has got to be very careful. They're battling over third place in the Constructors' Championship and $100,000 between the two teams as well. So they've got to be careful. I think Mercedes, remember, they're going to be very influential in this race still in the sprint because we've got Bottas up there in P2. He's going to be trying to hold back Verstappen and Perez as well. But I think Mercedes keep doing this. They gave Bottas penalties at races he didn't need to. That hurt Lewis Hamilton as well. Red Bull have had the greater strategy call. They did it in Mexico. They did it in USA as well, where they trapped Hamilton when Bottas was either having a penalty or was further down the field due to an accident. It just keeps having these issues. They keep getting separated. Red Bull have stuck together like glue this year. It's been great. Ferrari are not going to back out of the way for Lewis Hamilton. They're going to race for their championship goal. They know there's now at least 1 point on offer in the constructors' battle. They finished third in the sprint race as well. They now know as well for the main race on Sunday that they're going to have a bigger advantage to get a podium, maybe even somehow get a race win. Anything can happen here at Interlagos. The further back we've had a race win here is eighth with Fischer Keller in 2003. For McLaren, I think they are going to jump out of the way of the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton because of the simple fact that McLaren are run by Mercedes engines. It's not the first time we've seen it. This year, Hamilton was coming through the field in Turkey. Out of the way came both of the McLaren. So I think they'll jump out of the way quite quick. But the bigger question is, as we've all been saying as well, this sprint race is now going to be either make or break for Lewis Hamilton. He has got to get up there. He has got the car to do it, but the question is the aero package working? We know, and we've seen it, that Mercedes gets stuck in traffic. He has got to be fast. He's got to have low fuel mileage as well. He's got to be on quick tires. He has got to go there. With a free tire choice for the sprint, I'm going to make this prediction. 24 laps. We saw Pierre Gasly do 26 laps on softs and then start to degrade. Hamilton, if he's smart, he'll go on the softs, or if he's feeling a bit more bold, stick on a set of mediums, and then the last couple of laps cruise around the people who are slowing with tire degradation. Either way, this race is going to be exciting. And I never thought I'd say that about a sprint. What is it about sprint weekends with Hamilton and Verstappen? They just have more drama.
All I gotta say is, as former crew chief Larry McConnell said, reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time. All I gotta say is, Lewis Hamilton, if you're not a Formula One fan after this weekend, then you need to watch the last few races of the year, because this sprint race could go down as one of the craziest F1 races in history. Lewis Hamilton starting in the back, he's going to have to drive smart, and be very, very careful around all the other drivers. But Lewis Hamilton, can he do it? Yeah. Will he do it? We have no idea, but get your favorite drinks and your favorite food and watch the sprint race to see how Lewis Hamilton can do, starting from the back and working his way toward the front. It's going to be a interesting, crazy race to start off this Brazilian Grand Prix weekend.
I'm going out for a meal after the sprint race. I'm either going to be celebrating a very good race or drowning my sorrows as a Formula One fan as well, whether the title's going to go up or the title's going to go down. Either way, somebody better buy me a drink tonight because I think I'm going to need it.
It's going to be, I think, a very entertaining day for the race fans. I think everyone's definitely going to be talking, even if it's just Lewis Hamilton pulling up great performance and getting midfield. We're going to be talking about today, especially the big championship picture. Now, one of the things, of course, we do encourage all our viewers to share their questions and opinions on the air. Joshua Plays asks, just to confirm, you don't have to pit in the F1 sprint race? That is correct. No mandatory pit stop. Last thing you want to do is make a pit stop. We saw that really hurt Sergio Perez in Silverstone when he spun out, had to get the new tires, and then they decided just have him start towards the back because he was just not having a good sprint race. And of course, that sprint race later today in Sao Paulo, and then tomorrow, the Grand Prix, Sao Paulo Grand Prix, traditionally the Brazilian Grand Prix, new name, but we're going to be following that. And of course, after the race, grid live wrap up, we'll recap all the action. Now it's time to switch over to MotoGP. This is their last race of the year, the final one in 2021. And for many, this is also the end of an era because most eyes will be on that number yellow, 46, Valentino Rossi, entering his final race. He announced he was retiring earlier this year in his career, and that dated back to his first MotoGP debut in 1996 at the age of 16. The Doctor, many world championships, has been part of some of the most iconic battles in MotoGP history. One of my personal favorites was him versus Nicky Hayden, the Kentucky kid, for the MotoGP World Championship. That last race, Rossi went down, got back up, but couldn't get the championship away from Nicky Hayden. And at the end, while Nicky Hayden was carrying the American flag and the emotion you could see all over his face, Valentino Rossi rode up right next to him, grabbed his hand, and congratulated him. I think that really speaks character of Rossi's personality, his attitude, and he's definitely going to be missed. So my question for both you, Josh, and Adam, starting with you, Adam, what is the one moment in Rossi's career that sticks out the most? And Adam, you have the unique opportunity to see his debut race in 1996. I started following in 2001. Back then, 1996, what were your initial thoughts of this young 16-year-old?
Oh, it's called. I don't think anybody saw called when I started watching MotoGP and Valentino Rossi was competing in the 125cc class. Now we know it as Moto 3. He was very competitive, and then he moved up to the 250cc class, and then eventually he moved up to the 500cc class, what we knew now as MotoGP. His first career win was at Donington Park in the 500cc class at Donington Park in Great Britain, and there were so many legendary names on that grid. You had Loris Capirossi, Max Biaggi, Jeremy McWilliams, Kenny Roberts Jr., among others, and it was a rain race. It won't be the same without the Doctor, Valentino Rossi, on the grid next year. And think about his number, 46. I don't think we'll see anyone in MotoGP race that number again. I think it should be retired. You think back to all the legendary numbers that people have raced in motorsports, especially when it comes to NASCAR. Number 3 for Dale Earnhardt, the 43 for Richard Petty, the 24 for Jeff Gordon, the 48 for Jimmy Johnson. There won't be another rider like Valentino Rossi. He dominated so much in the MotoGP championships in his illustrious career. So I hope he goes out tomorrow with a solid run, and who knows what we'll see the Valentino Rossi in all the motorsports in the years to come.
Yeah, the last of the great aliens retiring as well. First, it was Casey Stoner retiring, of course, with his illness as well. He's with the BT Sport crew this weekend, actually, which is great to see him. Then it was Danny Pedrosa retiring, Jorge Lorenzo, and now Valentino Rossi as well. The aliens are finally leaving MotoGP, leaving with them Terminator robots instead, with Marc Marquez and Fabio Quartararo. So the future of MotoGP is in safe hands, but it's scary to think of MotoGP without Valentino Rossi. That 46 has been around for 26 years, and wherever you look, it's literally his country. He has written the book as much as Schumacher, Senna, Hamilton has made their mark on Formula One. You go to MotoGP and literally it's just one name, Rossi. The San Marino Grand Prix will never be the same again, his hometown in Tivoli. And I'm honestly heartbroken. I always was when he announced his retirement at Austria. I was like, oh no, I was literally just like devastated for days. And the one good thing I like is actually if you take tomorrow's date into consideration, which is the 14th of the 11th, 21, and if you add all those numbers up together, it comes to 46. So 46 retiring on the 46th. Which is fantastic. And I think you're right, Adam. The number should be retired. I've heard a few rumors around that in the awards ceremony on Sunday evening, it might be announced that he's going to have that retired, when he's going to be surprised with, well, I say surprised, we all know about it, but you know what, surprised with a special award for a MotoGP legend. And I've got a couple of, actually. I've had the pleasure to commentate on some of his races on both on YouTube and even before when we were doing radio shows and that lot back in the day. I've been commentating on MotoGP now since 2013, and I got the 2015 season. A number of highlights in there. Victory in San Marino, his home track. Always rings a bell. The Shui on the podium as well. Netherlands in 16, another great one. I seem to remember as well the first time I ever thought, oh, hang on a minute, Rossi's a bit over here, was when he kicked Marc Marquez in 2015 in Malaysia. Josh Play says, do you think they will retire number 46? I think I agree. Yeah, I think we'll all agree on that one. But my top moment for Valentino Rossi was 2004 at the South African Grand Prix. His first race with Yamaha, and he won it. No matter what all the speculation was, after he changed from his Repsol Honda, he came into that race and he won it, making him the first and only rider in MotoGP history. Barigi never did this. John Surtees never did this. He becomes the first and only rider to win back-to-back races on different manufacturer bikes, Honda to Yamaha. Unbelievable. There's a reason he's the GOAT.
Yeah, and think back, and Josh, you were mentioning the commentators. You know, for me, when I think of MotoGP action back in the day, two commentators did out a lot, and that's Toby Moody and Dennis Noyes. They commented on a lot of Valentino Rossi's wins. And another MotoGP announcer is announcing his retirement this weekend, and it'll still be shocking, you know, that we don't see Valentino Rossi on the grid. I don't know what we'll do. I mean, his legacy will live on for many, many years to come.
He's not the only one retiring. As you said, Steve Day is letting go of MotoGP to spend time with his family as well. And Steve's a lovely, lovely bloke as well. One of the funniest guys you'll see in the MotoGP paddock. Daniel Petrucci, he's leaving MotoGP for the last time, we understand. He's going to go and race in the Dakar rally on a motorcycle. And Thomas Luthi in the Moto2 class, who did race in MotoGP, he's also retiring from motorsport for good now as well. And it's a sad weekend all round. Valencia always is sad. And I think many people say, oh, we should end the season in Portugal or go over and to one of the stateside races. But no, I think Valencia is the right place to end the season because it's got that sort of sunset glow. No matter what time of day it is, the sun is always shining and it creates like a massive orange glow around the circuit. And it just feels as the perfect goodbye. And I always love it when you take off your headset and pull it down and you just look back and you think, that was a great year of MotoGP. And won't lie, when I finish it tomorrow, I'll be thinking to myself, is that the first season I've done every single race live? Because usually I have to delay it. But no, so I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be good.
You bring up a good point, especially most motorsports series. That last race is sort of that sense of sadness, like this is the end of the year. For the drivers, they know some of them are not coming back because, especially MotoGP, F1, sometimes even IndyCar, it's so competitive to have those seats. Last weekend, the NASCAR season finale, it was a different atmosphere, like a Super Bowl type atmosphere, the end of the playoffs, the excitement. But this is, I think, what we see traditionally in motorsports. That end of the year, the championship wrapped up early. Everyone's going out there for the wins. And there's sort of that sense of camaraderie with the drivers. One moment that sticks out, besides Valentino Rossi getting reunited with those 9 championship bicycles, after his press conference, all the drivers there got in a group photo with Valentino Rossi. That was a moment that I'll always remember this year. And of course, one of the drivers that's not there this weekend is Marc Marquez. And a question from the chat room, starting with you, Adam. They mentioned about 46 being retired. Do you think the number 93 will be retired when Marc Marquez retires? And of course, we know what he's been doing. Adam, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it will be retired. Marc Marquez has been such a dominant rider in MotoGP history. I want to say thanks to Josh Plays for all the comments during the broadcast. Yeah, I think Marc Marquez number will be retired when Marc decides to hang up his leathers. It's, and I completely agree with you, Josh, about Valencia being the season finale at MotoGP. It's like, yeah, you think about it, it's called, I can't believe we're almost at the year. Seems like we're just in January getting ready for this motorsport season. Now here we are at the end, but hey, 2022 is just around the corner, and it's going to be interesting to see if Fabio Quartararo can go back to back, because he's going to have a lot of challengers gunning for him on the MotoGP grid next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Joshua, you want to answer that question about should the 93 be retired after Marc Marquez decides to call it a career?
I was just having to think about that as well, actually, because I've got a bad feeling that if we start retiring numbers, that we're going to have none left. But I think we need to have an exception to the rule where if you've won a certain amount of championships, then yes. I mean, I think we never retired 26 for Danny Pedrosa or Casey Stoner's number. Was it 7? Yeah, it wasn't. But I'm thinking, if in this case Marc Marquez is now up there with Valentino Rossi as one of the greatest of all times, so yes, we should retire 93's number. But in the same respect, when Quartararo is done, are we going to retire 20? It's a bit weird, because if that's the case, if we did that in F1, Nigel Mansell's number 5 would have got retired, and we never would have had it for Sebastian Vettel. It's a fine line you've got to tread. You've got to have the number of retirements for legends. And I think I definitely agree with Marc Marquez there. But I want to get the point across. Don't retire the number because he won a championship, he won a race there and there. Retire it for legends only. And I think in that case, 93, yes. 46, yes. We won't retire Johan Mir's number when he's gone to 36. So it's things like that. Have a committee meeting, but get it right. Get it right too. Otherwise, we'll just run out of numbers one of these days.
Yeah,
and you bring up a good point with that. It's said about the retirement of numbers is essentially you do sort of run out, and we see in NASCAR how the number 3 is still being used by Austin Dillon, the 43 still being used, and just a perspective on the retired numbers in MotoGP. Simoncelli's 58 has been retired, Kevin Schwartz 34, the 48 has been retired, the 65, the 74, and of course the 69 for the Kentucky kid. So the 46 will be essentially 2, 4, 5. It will be the 6th number in MotoGP to be retired. And one of the big things we're going to look at, of course, later on is who's a legend because Fabio Quartararo, first championship, he's going to have a big battle if he's going to try to win another championship. And speaking about big battle, we also had the Supercar Series. Race 26 was this morning, and boy, was that something else. We saw a lot going on in chaotic race 26, a great battle towards the end, and the end. Anton Pescacali takes another win. It proves to him that him and that show, Dick Johnson Racing Team, they are back after such a long break. Shane Van Gisbergen, second place. Still, he needs 3 wins to wrap up the grid ranking. As you can see right here, his score dropped from 20.04 to 20.01. So he does need to get that win, 3 more wins to wrap it up. He could still win it various ways, but 3 wins will seal the deal for him. But the big thing, Cam Waters, Chaz Monster, it seems after this break, they have not been in contention. You can see Cam Waters 22nd in today's race. Adam, are you surprised by the rise of Antoine Dick Johnson Racing and sort of the fall of Cam Waters, Chaz Monster?
Oh, yeah. When we got here to City Motorsports Park, I don't think anybody saw this coming from Anton De Pasquale. In the broadcast, they're talking about, kind of reminds them of when Scott McLaughlin was there, and we all know how dominant he was. I don't think anybody saw us coming anywhere. I believe he had 2 career wins, before this weekend. So, but SVG, even Jimmy Wincup has said that it's going to be hard for him to catch his teammate for the championship. He basically conceded it to Shane Van Gisbergen already, but SVG does have a overwhelming lead in the points. So I think Anton De Pasquale will still be a factor here at Sydney, and who knows? He could just go out and win Bathurst at the end of the season. Anything can happen, down under in Australia.
Anything can happen, and I think it's going to be a really exciting lead up to this final race, the Bathurst 1000, for Shane Van Gisbergen trying to wrap up that Supercar Series championship. 349-point lead after the first race of the weekend. 300 points max per race weekend. So we only have 2 more race weekends following this weekend. So that's 600 points right there. And then, of course, the remainder of the 300 points, 100 points race 27, 100 race 28 later today. And so definitely Shane Van Gisbergen looking for those wins. I know also looking for the wins, all of us in Pick Winner. We know Kobe got Antoine correctly, so he gained a little bit. And Adam, you got to take us through because it's going to be a good one, I think.
Oh, yeah. It's called we're getting down to the end of the year, and we're all trying our hardest to see if we can catch our colleague Joe. And just a reminder, NASCAR is no longer is being raced now, so Joe and the rest of us cannot pick Kyle Larson anymore.
Oh, fuck. I love that graphic.
So with that being said, it's time we make our picks. First up, we head to Interlagos in Brazil, and I'll start with you, Josh. Can Max Verstappen make it 3 in a row after his wins here in the United States and last weekend in Mexico City?
I did it in Austria and France as well. France, Austria, Styria did it in 3 in a row, and he got stopped doing it, didn't he? In Belgium and Netherlands by being crashed out in Italy. I'd say this is probably his best chance if he wants to secure this title and get a more than 26-point lead, as Joe said as well. Yes, Verstappen is going to win this weekend, but do not count out little wing commander Bottas. who might just slip up the inside and have a Charlie 4060 with a big accident at Center S. I'm expecting it to go something like this. I'm going to say action for the sprint. And then as soon as I finish saying that, all of a sudden, Verstappen's going to be in the wall in turn one, and through goes Lando Norris or Fernando Alonso, and they'll win the sprint, and then a great race will ensure. But yeah, it's going to go. yeah. See, it's all going through. Bottas going to hit Verstappen. Verstappen's going to win the race. That's logical. But as a little bit of a cheeky guess, that isn't going to count. I'm going to say Lando Norris is going to win the race.
Oh, nice pick. Nice pick. And for me, I'm going to have to say that Max Verstappen does go 3 in a row and does win the São Paulo Grand Prix. I mean, he's starting P1 in the sprint race. He has so much momentum riding with him right now after his 2 consecutive victories in Austin, Texas, and Mexico. So I'm going with Max Verstappen in the Red Bull to go back to back to back.
Now, Joe, can you pick anybody else apart from Max Verstappen so that Adam and Kirby have a chance to catch you? That's great.
Unfortunately, I mean, the only way Max Verstappen's not going to win is if Bottas contact with him or if Verstappen makes a very rare mistake. But I picked Max Verstappen earlier on today on an earlier post, and I do want to encourage, in case anybody had picked Lewis Hamilton before the news, the rules of pick a winner, you could have changed your picks up until the start of that race, and that is the Grand Prix, not the sprint race. So if anyone picked Lewis Hamilton and they know Lewis is going to be starting in the back, whether he's going to be no higher than 6th place tomorrow, you could change it. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm going with Max Verstappen as well.
Hello,
right.
Is that Esteban Ocon? Yes, I need you a favor for me.
Oh, Josh, and now we head to the season finale, sad to say, of the fantastic 2021 MotoGP World Championship. We all know that Fabio Quartararo has wrapped it up, but it was a really crazy weekend with practice and whatnot in qualifying. So, Josh, I'll start with you. Who wins the season finale at Valencia?
For MotoGP season finale, it's a stab in the dark because it's been a bit of a weird one with Jorge Martin on pole position, Bagniaia second, Miller third. Quartararo is out of it. He's starting 8th down at the back of the grid. I'm going to say we're going to see Jack Miller win 3rd place. He's got a nice outside run in towards turn number 1. I think he's got the legs, and Jack Attack was very animated after the Ducati's championship win last weekend in Portimao, and his golf swing's not half that bad either. So I'm going to go with Jack Miller to get a hole-in-one and win the Valencia Grand Prix. You see, I've got Formula E on the mind saying E-Prix.
Oh, no problem. And I'm going to have to go say Jorge Martin wins the season finale in Valencia. He's starting on pole, and after this crazy weekend we've had crashes left and right. Quartararo starting 8th, and overall, I think it'd be kind of cool to see at least Valentino Rossi end the year at least getting a top 10 since it is his last race before he hangs up his leathers for good.
If he gets a podium tomorrow, it'll be his 200th MotoGP podium. So that's something to keep an eye on. Amazing.
I know I was thinking Jorge Martin, because Martin, he got that win already. He doesn't have the pressure. I'm going for my first win. However, I'm going to go with Pecco Bagniaia. I think his front row start, that lap time he put of 130 flat was just amazing. Can't believe Jorge beat it, but I'm going to go with Pecco Bagniaia. I think he's going to prove to everyone he is a championship contender. We're seeing Fabio Quartararo, the last 3 races, 15th, 7th, 8th. Pecco Bagniaia, pole. And he's trying to go for win. And that's why I'm picking him for the MotoGP race.
That's a really good choice, Joe. And now we have the last 2 races of the Repco Supercar Series from Sydney Motorsports Park, and I'll go first. For race 2, I think it'll be Anton De Pasquale, and for race 3, I'm gonna say that Shane Van Gisbergen comes out on top. Joe, who do you have for races 2 and 3 at Sydney?
For race 2, I'm going to what we saw similar to last race weekend, where we saw Shane Van Gisbergen take race 2. So I'm going to say Shane Van Gisbergen is going to take race 2. But for race 3, I'm going to go with another driver. I'm going to go with Anton. That Shell, Dick Johnson Racing, they seem to be really strong. So I'm going to split it. I think that's what's going to happen. Shane's going to get that win. He's going to play conservative because he wants to get that championship, secure a podium. Antoine, he's going to go out there, race hard for the win. That's my pick for the Supercar Series. I encourage everyone to participate in Pick a Winner. If you're in the chat room, feel free to comment with your picks. We will record them. And, of course, you get it right and you're outside the top 10. 4 points for first-timers outside the top 10. And if we get to that point, we might raise it up to 5 points. But be sure to participate in Pick a Winner. We're also do Pick a Winner every week on TikTok and Instagram. Be sure to follow all our social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitch, where we live stream all our programs as well. We want to encourage everyone to visit our sponsors, public.com. You use the code GridNet, you get $5 in free stock. And if you want to invest in the Grid Network, be sure to subscribe to our Patreon. Colin, Mark, Michelle, and Robin are keeping us on the air. And we encourage everyone to visit also Buy Me a Coffee, where you could buy your favorite on-air personality coffee or a large contribution to the Grid Network one time you make it the call. So we encourage you to check that out. And be sure to visit our friends at Publis, 10% discount on your furry good friends goodies. They do support rescue sick dogs all around the world as well too. I know we saw somebody had commented that they have essentially rescue dogs as pet, and of course the Grid Network, Kiska, our rescue dog here, office dog. Definitely, we encourage everyone to check out Publis. And of course, be sure to subscribe to the Grid Network. And the video description, we have a link to Joshua Burst's channel for his watch along, which I know Adam participates on once in a while. Joshua, I know you got a very busy race weekend. Besides the Brazilian Grand Prix, what other races are you covering this week on your channel?
MotoGP's coming up, of course, tomorrow. We've got that watch along. We're calling it the last ride, with so many riders retiring. Or we've got an esport race that's going to debut as well from BBB Sports. That's from the Benelux series that I do the commentary on. So if you actually want to see some cars on my channel, you'll see it on Sunday evening as well, or Monday evening. Can't remember which day that's going to go out. Then I get a week. No, don't get a week off. Next weekend, we've got Qatar for Formula One. Then I get a week off. Before going into the last two for Formula One. So it's tailing down to the end of the season, but we've got loads of exciting programming coming up. We've got some interviews lined up with some motorsport personality as well, and it's going to be great. And even here on the Grid Network, we've got our review shows coming up, so it's all looking fantastic. I can't wait. We're going to be busier in the off-season than we are during the on-season.
Busy off-season, preparing for 2022. We do got Joshua Plays Pick Winner picks for Verstappen for F1 and Martin for MotoGP. So definitely, we want to invite everyone. Be sure to tune in to the Grid Network tomorrow after the races. We will provide updates of when we go on the air after the Formula One race. And we want to thank everyone for joining us today. For Joshua Birch, Adam Lemeries, I'm Joe San Diego. Thank you again and enjoy the races.
Don't be an anonymous investor. Join the stock market social media platform, public.com. Invest any amount of money and share with friends and new friends. Discover new opportunities, such as new companies and potential business partners, and useful tools for beginners, and share your experience with friends on public.com. Link in the video description gets you $5 for being a Grid Network viewer. Use the referral code GridNet for your free $5 to invest and start investing and networking on public.com.